This is Greek with David Hutchison. Verbs. Future active indicative. We've already studied the present tense, the present active indicative. Let's take a look now at the future active indicative. The future tense describes something that will happen in the future. I will study, the verb is future. They will baptize, future. The students will translate, future. Sometimes the future will function like a command. This is particularly when the New Testament is repeating certain verses from the Old Testament. They will pick up this Semitic type of thing. For example, you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. There, the future basically functions like an imperative of command. You will do this. It's a command. You remember from our discussion of the present active indicative that basically the Greek verb has one compartment with the verb meaning, and then you have another compartment with endings attached to the end. Where do endings go? They go at the end. The new thing about this lesson is that there is a signal for the future tense that will show up right between that little component that has the verb meaning and the component that has the endings. So this key is a sigma. The sigma is a great key of the future tense. It shows up right after the part that has the verb meaning and right before the part that has the endings. So, for example, if we had the verb luo, the component that holds the verb meaning is lu. This would be the verb stem. Also happens to be the present stem. Let's just call it for now the verb stem. That's where the meaning resides. Then we're going to add a sigma right after that. That's a sign for the future. Then we're going to add our endings. Let's say we added the ending omega for I. So we put it all together. We would get luso. I will loose or untie. This is what we're going to see as we explore the future active indicative. So recall the number one endings, the primary active endings. O, ace, a, amen, ete, usi. And remember that nu at the very end of usi is a movable nu. Depending on what comes after this word, the nu will either be there or it won't. It's a movable nu. So if we want to form the future active indicative, we're going to take the verb stem. We're going to add a sigma. Sigma is this key for future tense. And then we're going to add the number one endings. O, ace, amen, eti, usi. What is the verb stem? Well, many times it's the same as the present stem, but sometimes it's different. And all you really have to do here is just look at the book. And we'll talk about it again more later in this lecture. So there are two keys for the future active indicative. The big, huge key is sigma, right there in the middle of the word, a sigma. And the second key is number one endings. So two keys to future. What are they? Sigma, number one endings. Think back to the present tense. What were the keys there? Well, it was just one key, number one endings. Now for future active indicative, we have two keys. Sigma, big key, and number one endings. Two keys. Once again, those endings are o, ace, a, amen, eti, usi. O, ace, amen, eti, usi. So here's how we do it. We have lu, and then I've got the endings at the end. And you see the space I've created right in the middle? The sigma is going to drop right on in there, just like that. So we have luso, luces, luce, lusamen, lusite, lususi. This will translate, I will loose, you will loose, he, she, or it will loose, We will loose, you will loose, they will loose. So what are the two keys to future active indicative? Two keys. Sigma, number one endings. Where does the sigma go? Right in the middle, right between the verb stem and the endings. Here's some examples from the New Testament. So, therapeuso. This is from the verb therapeuo, that means I heal. You can see the word therapeutic in English. So, therapeuo is I heal. We have a sigma right there after the verb stem. This will be I will heal. Acuse. This is from akuo, I hear. Remember the word acoustics. That will help you. So acuse. You have that sigma. This is a key of future tense. And then that a ending. Let's look at our endings. Oes a, amen eti usi. That's third singular. He, she, or it will hear. Pistusumen. This is from pistuo, I believe. We have the sigma right here. This is going to be a key for future. And then our ending is amen. That's first plural. So we will believe. We will believe. Another one, acusete. From akuo again, I hear. You have the sigma, key for future tense. And then you have the ete ending, second plural. So you, plural, will hear. Let's talk about this process called amalgamation. When you're forming the future tense, as you know, you add a sigma right after the verb stem. Some letters, when they bump into that sigma, stay exactly the same, but other letters undergo certain changes. This change is called amalgamation. So what will happen if you had a P, a beta, or a phi at the end of the verb stem, and then the sigma bumps into those letters, it forms a new letter. It forms a psi. That makes sense because a p sound plus a s sound makes that ps sound in the psi. So p plus sigma equals psi, beta plus sigma equals psi, and phi plus sigma equals psi. Remember that phi is a double consonant. It's a p plus an h sound. So those three make sense. P, beta, or phi plus sigma equals psi. Also, think about this. If you have a kappa, a gamma, or a chi, the k sound is going to go with the sigma to make ks, the letter xi. So kappa plus sigma equals xi. Gamma plus sigma, gs, gs, forms a xi. And the chi plus sigma, ks, forms the ks sound. So kappa gamma chi plus sigma equals xi. And then if you have a tau, delta, or a theta plus a sigma, it simply results in sigma. The tau, the delta, or the theta simply drop out. You might think of the tau, delta, or theta being intimidated by the sigma. The sigma is a bit of a bully, if you will, when it comes to tau, delta, or theta. So p beta phi plus sigma equals psi, kappa gamma chi plus sigma equals xi, and tau delta theta plus sigma equals sigma. What's that process called? Amalgamation. Now why are we talking about it with the future tense? Because the sigma is the key for the future tense, and it will occur right after that verb stem. Let's see some examples. Let's say I had blep. This is from blepo, I see. Let's say I had blep, and then I added the s sound. Let's look at our chart. P, beta, or phi. So we've got a P plus a sigma. Ps, ps. That's going to be a psi. So that will become bleps. Og plus sigma. We've got that gamma. This would be from line 2, kappa, gamma, or key. The g s is going to be xi, so we have ox. And then path, the rule is tau, delta, or theta plus sigma equals sigma, so this will simply be pace. Pace. Okay, so these are some examples of amalgamation. As a Greek detective, which is what you are sometimes, if you see a sigma in the middle of a word, or a psi or a xi in the middle of a word, you should ask the question, is it future? Is this a future tense form? Is that letter in the word because it's a signal of the future tense, or is it part of the word's spelling? If it's part of the word's spelling, then it's not going to indicate future. It's just part of the word's spelling. So for example, the verb kerusso, I preach, if you see the sigmas there, that's just because it's part of the spelling. Now how are you going to know if it's part of the spelling or if it's a signal of future? Well, look it up in a dictionary or a lexicon. Now I want to remind you to check the verb stem. Remember that some verbs have different verb stems than present stems. And remember that when you're forming the future tense, we're going to add a sigma to the verb stem, not to the present stem. Now sometimes they're the same, but just remember, future tense, add a sigma to the verb stem. So I want to give you a few examples. These are some words whose lexical form you'll see on the left and their verb stem on the right. So baptizo. The verb stem of baptizo is baptid, so you would add the delta plus the sigma. For didasco, the verb stem is didac. That kappa plus a sigma would equal a xi when it turns into future. Doxadzo, the verb stem is doxad. Hetoimadzo, hetoimad. Echo, notice this has a smooth breathing mark. This one's a bit different. Here we have a rough breathing mark on the verb stem, hek. So the future tense would be hex plus the endings. Kerusso, here the verb stem is keruk. So when you add that k plus a sigma, it's going to turn into keruks. And then sodzo, its verb stem is sowed. If you look in a vocabulary list, you may see the little bitty root sign. If you think back to math class, it looks like the root sign, kind of like a checkbox with a line over the top. If you see that symbol, that's what it's indicating, is that the verb stem is whatever they list there. These are some of those examples. Alright, so here let's do some more practice. These are actual forms that occur in the New Testament. These are going to involve some of these changes. Soseis. Soseis. You see that sigma in the middle. This is from the verb sodzo, that means I save. Remember that the verb stem is sowed, so we're going to add the delta plus sigma. And if you look at the very bottom, tau, delta, or theta plus sigma equals sigma. So that delta drops out, the sigma takes over, and that's how we got soseis. So sodzo means I save. This is future, and it is second singular. So you singular will save. Hexe. Hexe. We see a xi, so we're going to ask ourselves, is this a future tense form, or is it part of the spelling of the verb? Well, the verb itself is echo. Remember that the verb stem is hek, that rough breathing mark plus the key. So when the key and the sigma join together, they form xi. So this is why we have hexe. So we have future, It's from echo, I have. So future, and then the ending, a ending, oase a, amen eti usi. That's a third singular ending. He, she, or it will have. Gropso. Gropso. This is from grapho. When you add a phi plus a sigma, look at the p beta or phi rule. P beta or phi plus sigma equals psi. So this is why we have that psi there. Graph plus sigma equals grops. And then the omega ending is first singular. So this is I will write. So that's it on the future active indicative. What would you say are the two big keys to future? One of them is sigma, and then the other would be the number one endings. Sigma plus number one endings, o, ace, a, amen, ete, usi.